Welcome to our group meeting for container security. Alexander has several items to demo there. We can probably just skip through them for the sake of the recording, but a lot of good front-end improvements that have been coming out over the last little while. So great job with those. Alan, it looks like you've got our first topic here.
Yeah, and I feel like we already discussed this and the issue itself. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else I can discuss. We need to do the spike. We need to investigate what we need to do and just do it. I don't have anything to add to it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I just have the only thing I would add, I tried to make this clear in my comments in the issue, but I'm hoping that we can make this. Oh, and there's Tiago. Hello, Tiago. I would just add to my comments in the issue there that I'm hoping we can make this reliable enough where we don't need our users to have an audit or report mechanism. Like, I'm hoping we can get it reliable enough where they can just count on it running, and then we can take over the auditing for them instead of having them all do the auditing for their own areas. So I guess that would be my biggest concern or point there. Do we feel like that's something that's attainable?
Yeah, that's a good constraint. We can focus on that.
Did I click something wrong?
You came and left and came back again.
Yeah, let's try. Stay co-host. There you go. I was gonna say that is the ideal situation, Sam. I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm not optimistic about it. I think there's always gonna be a way for accidentally, most likely, or sorry, not accidentally, more unlikely. We can probably fix the accidents, but intentionally, you know, the CI config is so flexible. There's so many things that can go wrong. I don't think we can cover them all. We'll try at some point. We'll realize we're just playing whack-a-mole. We're in an arms race, and I think we're going to need the audit anyway. That's just gut feel and from experience dealing with these sort of things. Hopefully, I'm wrong.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think in any case, let's start with giving ourselves some back-end auditing and reporting here so that we can even have an idea of how often this is happening. And, you know, I would much rather, you know, I would rather wait until we realize that we're in that whack-a-mole kind of situation where we're not going to address everything and then give users some auditing versus like doing that before we have some hard data to show that it's absolutely needed.
Yeah. Are we keeping count? I think we've had 2 or 3 occasions so far, Maciej, do you remember? The latest one was the stage, right? We realized if somebody removes the stage, it doesn't run. So now we're going to inject the stage. I think there was something before. I don't remember what it was, but I seem to remember there were 2 other occasions.
We had situations where we were creating an invalid YAML file. So the CI job was not running because of that.
That was the other one.
And the error was not really clear. Like, it was not telling what's going on in the YAML itself. It was just invalid YAML format, and that's it. That was fixed. Yeah. There was another one at the very beginning, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the pattern that I'm afraid we'll keep encountering. Maciej, you had an idea similar to the ping data, because the ping data will give us counts, but it won't tell us a lot about what's happening. You had an idea about some other instrumentation. Have we discussed it?
So we need to do the spike to just know what kind of fields or data we can get, because we have one place when we inject our policies, and when the policy itself is invalid, it will not be injected. So I just need to collect all the data that we can have and maybe build some kind of table with all information. And I was thinking about having a list that could be for us only internally or behind the feature flag that we can take a look. The list where you have a list of projects and list of policies and if these were applied or not. I just need to see if that's possible in current with current data that we have.
So that comment was in the issue. I think my reply to it was if using the Rails log was an easier and maybe intermediate step to because once we get into DB migrations and adding things to the database, now we got to think about maintaining that and cleaning it up, and when does it get deleted? We'll need to build an interface for it, or somebody's going to need to have console access to query it. Whereas the log, you hit up Kibana and see it. However, the log does expire in 7 days. We only keep that for a week.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. We can use the log. We can maybe write some script or scheduled pipeline that will just collect it every week.
Yeah,
and get some report after that. So yeah, that's a good first step.
So I do have one other question about this. So if we're not able to reliably run the policy itself, how are we going to have confidence in our ability to detect whether or not the policy was applied? Are we going to do this outside the CI pipeline? Seems like if we can't do the one reliably, are we going to run into the same reliability issues with the detection script as well?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So there could be a situation where you don't even know that you should have had a policy. Although I think that's less likely than in not running. At the point, so Maciej, you know a lot more about this, but I believe there's a hook that we take advantage of to insert our configuration, and maybe as part of that, we can make a note somewhere to go, hey, by the way, this pipeline should have something that's not affected by the pipeline configuration itself. And then when it finishes, we can check that again and say, hey, did this job actually run? There are some edge cases there, right? So for example, if somebody has a repeated job name, we increment the job with the counter. So it becomes a bit more complicated keeping track of what is what in the pipeline.
So here's my next question on that is if we implement something that's not affected by the pipeline configuration itself, why would we not use that same mechanism to run our scans? If that's like a fundamentally more reliable way, maybe we need to rethink where and how we run the scans.
Because then it's outside the code that runs pipeline. We'll basically be reinventing that wheel.
Yeah,
we'll be making a new runner, a new CI config, a new everything. However, one thing that is said is interesting to me, which I've been talking about, calling like generic workloads or generic worker, which is a faster, quicker way of running security jobs. Right now, we take advantage of CI jobs extensively. We discussed this in part with the registry container scan, because at some point you're going to need to build that bomb, and where does that run? We can't just run that as a sidekick job, so we need somewhere to run. And right now, everything is a CI job. So that's one possibility, I think. But yeah, you seem like you had a thought before.
So the easiest way to see if there is a policy that should be applied is compare the config before like running our processor that is like injecting the updated CI with policies and compare it before and after. And if they are the same, so nothing got changed, that means that something is wrong in the configuration itself. So definitely we need to get back to it, investigate, see what we can do, because right now we've built a lot new features around that.
I think we're losing.
All right. At least it wasn't me this time. Is this what happened to me?
Yeah, and then you disappeared and came back. I don't know if it's a bug in Zoom or who knows.
Did I freeze with my arms up because I was like this, like, swearing at Zoom?
I don't think it was that bad, but I guess you could always go back and watch the recording.
I will. I'll do that. So since Mathieu got cut off, taking a step back from creating solutions is, let's research the problem. Keep in mind, just watch out so we're not entering a cycle of, patching up and breaking and patching up and breaking. And we do need to understand a bit more what's available to us in terms of observability and tracking what's happening behind the scenes. So spike issue.
Yeah, that seems appropriate. Do you want to repurpose the issue we have there, or do you want to create a new one?
I think we can probably use that issue and rewrite it to be more of a research thing.
Okay. Do you want to? Are you going to write that up, Tiago? Do you want me to?
I can do it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with this. I'm not ready yet to commit to giving our end users visibility into this, but it sounds like I might end up being persuaded for that later on. But at least right now, I'd like to keep it. That would be the only constraint I would put on this, is like, let's keep this constrained to providing our team with visibility into this. And let's start with that before we look at, ways to give end users themselves visibility into.
But the feature itself, exposing that to users, that's already out there. Is there anything that you're going to change about that or no? It's just the audit thought, really.
Yeah, this would just be allowing our team to audit whether or not it's actually being applied 100% of the time, because that's how we're marketing it to users right now. We're saying you set up this policy and you can sleep easy at night because it's going to happen 100% of the time, and the developers can't change it, right? So I think we should probably just start with this audit step so that we can confirm or deny that claim. And we can, let's do that first before we decide the next steps.
Cool. I'm happy to take the next discussions there. I was thinking of Brian's points, which were good as well. At some point how far do you trust your own developers, right? When they turn rogue and they start breaking things, you've got a different kind of problem. But maybe we can help with that problem as well. Yeah, maybe that's when the audit comes in and say, hey, now if the thing is being sabotaged, we can't ensure that it's going to run, but we can tell you that it's being sabotaged and you should take some action. Maybe, have a conversation with that person.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the last item I had is mostly just an FYI. I posted in Slack, but it's a big deal, so I wanted to call it out here just verbally as an announcement. It looks like the Workspace group finally finished their background migration, which has been a blocker for us on moving things to the group and namespace level. So that's done. They have a small bug. They've identified the root cause of it. I think it only affects like 600 projects. So they've already figured out the problem. They're going to fix it soon. I think we're at the very end of this blocker and we should be good to go to use project namespace. I found out today there's not even a feature flag. It's just on by default. It's just a question of if you can reliably count on every single project having an associated project namespace. And at least as of right now, that's true for all of our projects except for 600 of them.
That was a tricky problem, and must be huge for them. Congratulations to that team. I don't think it slowed us down a little bit. We did wait 1 or 2 milestones for it, but I think Mathieu has started in parallel while they were doing the migration. So we have been unblocked for a little while. Although with the FIPS work, I made a mistake with the scheduling, and I completely overlooked all those FIPS issues that we offered to help with, and now we're pulling them in, which may affect which will affect the planning that I had in place.
Okay.
Just a heads up to you.
Yeah, that sounds good. The other thing, this is a carryover from my one-on-one with Neil, but we should probably go through and double check that we're properly unblocking all of the front end work and prioritizing those issues. If you haven't talked to Neil about that already too.
I have not.
In our planning.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, generally our backend team, we have 4 backend developers to 1 front end developer. And so the backend team usually outpaces the front end, but I think we're in a situation where Alexander is not able to work on his top priorities because he has some backend blockers that are not done. Anyway, so we're in sort of a weird state right now, but we might need to take a look at.
Let's do that
for those.
Our output last month in February was a little bit slower. There was a lot of time off taken, parental leave and sick leave and things like that. We have Dominic with COVID. He's still struggling with it. But yeah, outside of these things that are not in our control, I can definitely catch up with you about identifying those blockers and see if we can work on them.
Yeah, and then something else Alexander and I talked about yesterday following. So Sam and I talked, Alexander and I talked afterward in the afternoon. Something else that we've noted is it can be difficult for Alexander to put the right amount of attention toward work that will be coming up while he's actively working on something else. So I want to find the right balance, because he'll honestly fess that he might, like a lot of us do, off the cuff, that looks great because you don't have a lot of time to look at something. We want to try to avoid that. We want to find the right amount of depth, the right amount of attention, so we're not missing this stuff, because it's likely that some of these blockers were things that could have been caught earlier too.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We shouldn't really assume that the same developer can keep delivering what they focused on and keeping an eye on all the other planning and preempting problems that might come in other areas.
Yeah, definitely a capacity issue with one person.
Yeah.
If we were to look at bringing more front end support into container security, I think the same thing. If we're not fixing some of these patterns, where we have opportunities, then it'll just be doubled. We don't want that either. But yeah,
all right, well, that's all I had.
Tomorrow.
Any other topics to discuss?
No, but I just a heads up that I'm off the rest of the week. So Neil,
okay.
I might need to catch up next week about this.
Fine with me. Yeah, and Alexander's out tomorrow through Monday, so it'll be quiet.
Long weekend.
Going to Hawaii. Dang it.
Nice.
I know.
Yeah. Very good.
All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. See ya.